Hello there. On this video here, I would like to discuss maybe the old days. This might be another segment of the good old days, but it's actually more directed to the younger generation, people that are a lot younger than me. And I am sure these questions have come up. A son may ask his dad, "What did you do when you were a kid?" Well, my son has asked me that in the past. And I'm going to tell you, when we were kids, back in the late 40s and the 50s, growing up, in my case, I was born in 1943, so that's why I'm an old goat. Well, back in those days, of course, the younger generation may not believe this, but there was no iPods, MP3 players, color televisions, any of these things that, and computers and so forth, that you younger generation now have and depend on it for entertainment. There was no internet, no such thing. We had a thing called a telephone. And it was not push buttons, but it was dial, rotary dialing. What did I do to keep myself busy as a kid? I built a go-kart. Not a motorized one, no, just a simple little go-kart out of all wood. Just put wheels on it from a wagon and just let it roll down the country road. We lived out in the country. I remember one time, I was probably about 10 years old when I did this, a couple blasted the horn at me and told me to get that out of the road. You're going to get yourself killed. That stuck in my mind. I've never done that, and my father found out about it and told me I could never put it on the road again. But, you know, it was fun. I built the thing myself. My dad helped me out with a little bit of it, but majority of it I did myself. I also did what any typical kid did in the 50s growing up. And that was, no, not drinking coffee like I do now. But the things we used to do to keep ourselves busy, we used to go out in the woods and get a good stick that's quite flexible and make ourselves a bow and arrow. Put the string in, you know, you'd have your jackknife, pocket knife, whatever you want to call it, and we'd put points on them, and we used to target practice with them. Used to have a neighbor kid that I hung around with, and we used to do that. I had a lot of fun. About 1953, I was 10 years old at the time, I got my first bicycle. I had to get on training wheels at the time, but that was very short-lived. My father says, "Hey, you don't need them anymore, you're balancing it good." So they, in a couple of days, he took them off, and that was the end of that, and I was able to use the bike. But I had to be very careful, because I was young and I had to be very careful of the traffic. He did allow me on the road, but only if he was watching, because, you know, there wasn't much traffic back then. When I got to be about 12 to 13 years old, my dad bought me a BB gun, a rifle. He used to target practice with it. I had a lot of fun with that. After a while, you know, you pull the cock and lever out, and, you know, it had a spring in it. The spring would get weak after a while. It used to shoot like 200 feet, but after a while it just started shooting like 50 or 60 feet, and the BB would just drop down to the ground. So it, you know, wore out after a while. BB guns, forget it. Now they'd rather have a real gun and go shooting each other. Well, I did lose the BB gun, though. because I was shooting with it, and the BB struck my dad's windshield and made a ding in it on his old truck. He took the gun away from me. But you know what? I knew I did wrong, and that was it. It could have been worse. I could have hit somebody in the eye or something with it. So we played baseball. My neighbor's kid come over and would set up a simple little diamond in the backyard and play baseball. As I grew a little older, probably about 15 or 16 or so, I used to help my father on the coal truck. He used to have these 100-pound bags of coal. Now, if you older generations know what I'm talking about, but years ago, and I'm talking when I was about 15 years old, so I helped him on the truck. In the winter time, there wasn't much work, and we were pretty down and out at times. So he'd work on the truck where you would deliver coal and dump it down the chutes, and they used the coal to heat their homes with. This was a wintertime job because my father was a landscape gardener in the summertime, but in the wintertime we had to get whatever work you can get. So I would drag the bags at the end of the truck for him so he can throw it on his shoulder, walk over to the house, and dump it down the chute. So when he was loading the truck up at the where we got the coal, this was in New Haven, he would back up the truck there, and then each bag would get weighed. He'd put it on the edge of the truck for me. I was up on the body of the truck in the back. It was a flatbed truck with little rack sides on it, and I'll just drag the bag up and stack them up near the back window. So I'd help him do that. In the summertime, I'd help him do landscaping. I was still going to school, but I would help him on landscaping jobs and everything, and he did it all by hand. He did not have a tractor. He did have a rototiller, but most of the stuff he did backbreaking with the pickaxe and busting the stones up with the sledgehammer. He did all that, So it was hard work, and I helped him, throughout the years, on and off. We had the good old days. Also, when you were allowed to pick in the dump. People would drop off televisions. This was back in late 50s. You drop off TVs and stuff, and you just go up there and you see somebody unloading something off the truck, and you take the, you grab the thing and throw it on your truck. I found a lot of televisions and radios there. My dad was that way, he'd pick up the stuff. But and then shortly afterwards, a few years later, they restricted anybody from picking in the dump. But those were the good old days. They had a lot of stuff they threw out. Unbelievable, And that's what kind of got me into the hobby that I am now in. It was a big deal to have a radio in your room. A simple little 5-tube All-American 5 radio. We didn't have TVs in our room. We had one TV in the house. Just one. And that was all. We had nothing else but one television, and everybody shared it. You got 2 or 3 channels off the conical TV antenna that we had up on the roof. And if we needed to change it over to get like channel 12 or something, the pole was out just outside the window. Dad would reach out and turn it. Mom would watch and say, tell him, that's good. And I would shout up to Dad out the window, that's perfect, leave it right there. We didn't have antenna rotors, we just had hand rotation. Those were the good old days. Thank you for watching.